The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. We've got Operation Midway Blitz in Minneapolis, a.k.a. Mogadishu, Minnesota. Operation Twin Shield. I mentioned it earlier in the program. I want to update what I said because I don't want to overstate the case. There's never a need to overstate the case. And so I don't want to fall into that trap. I have updated information that provides a little bit more context to what I said and proportionality in terms of the scope of what U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the FBI, achieved with Operation Twin Shield up there in Minnesota. They looked at more than 1,000 cases for fraud or ineligibility indicators that yield 275 cases of suspected fraud. This is sham marriages, fabricating death certificates, false employment documents, these sorts of things. When they talk about fraud or ineligibility indicators, that's what they're referencing, and these are specific cases. So from the 1,000 they looked at, and by the way, this significantly, not exclusively, to my understanding, but significantly represents the Muslim immigrant community in Minneapolis, which shouldn't be a surprise because there's a huge Muslim immigrant community there. Please see Ilhan Omar as the representative. So anyway, 1,000 cases they looked at fraud or ineligibility indicators. 275 cases of suspected fraud were yielded from that number. 42 cases have been referred to ICE. And so far, just 4 arrests of the 42 cases, but I'm sure that's a process. As it is ongoing with ICE everywhere, including here with Operation Midway Blitz. So anyway, that's not inconsequential, but I just didn't want to overstate the numbers because there's no need to overstate the numbers. This is good work, and this is an indication of yet another problem with open borders, vetting, the lack of cogent immigration law enforcement, at least prior to the Trump administration, and the time it takes to get up to speed, the resources that are required after the lawlessness that was begotten by the Biden administration and is still being begotten in places like Minnesota under Tim Walz and Illinois under J.B. Pritzker. One other interesting operation, an ICE sting at a Dallas strip club. I don't know what the name of this operation was. Anyway, 41 illegal aliens arrested at an ICE raid at Chicas Bonitas Cabaret. And this is serious business. ICE got a tip that illegal aliens were sex trafficking girls to dance at this club. Out of the 41 illegal aliens, 29 worked at the club. 5 were previously convicted criminals. These are the huddled masses, just as we were talking about earlier. Of the more than 800 illegals that have been arrested as part of Operation Midway Blitz, and DHS posted profiles on about a dozen of them. These are the people that you want to stand up for. These are the people that you want to run interference for with ICE and with federal law enforcement agencies. Are you sure? For more on this, pleased to be joined by Paul Perez. He's the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Paul, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to also include something that L.A. Mayor Karen Bass had to say and get your reaction to this. This was her responding to what she's seeing around the country after L.A. was, the initial city to have a surge in resources of ICE combined with federal law enforcement to protect ICE, since in cities like Los Angeles, the police are told to stand down and not cooperate, even protect fellow law enforcement officers, which is sort of absurd, but it's the reality. Anyway, this is what she said about what's happening with all of these federal law enforcement agencies, including the U.S. military.
Well, let me just register that this is such a tragic moment in our history, and the experiment that started here has now gone to other cities and is now being generalized. I believe that they have been dosing the American people so that this becomes normalized behavior. The statements that were made to the military yesterday, acknowledging that we are going to experiment with our cities and use our cities as training grounds for warfare. So what that is saying is that the President of the United States wants to turn the U.S. military against the American people, and to tell law enforcement that they are now unleashed and they can use their guns is essentially saying go in primarily inner city communities and shoot people. So after years of trying...
Paul, that's what's next is federal law enforcement, military, local police are going to be unleashed to shoot people indiscriminately?
Look, nothing Karen Bass or any of the other liberal Democrats that are leading this party, this chaotic party, nothing they say or do anymore surprises me. But again, it's part of the rhetoric that is getting agents and officers hurt, shot at. People have been killed because of this rhetoric. And again, for her to suggest that we would do that, soldiers would do that, or that it's even been done in the past is just dangerous. It's dangerous. It's the big problem right now that we have with the Democrats is their talking points, the rhetoric, what they're doing out by putting us on blast, by doxing us, by making false assertions and allegations. That just puts our agents and officers' lives in danger. Not only our agents and officers, but our families as well, because of the doxing. It's out of control, and they're never going to take accountability for what's going on. You would have thought that after the incidents that they caused because of their rhetoric, they would have toned it down, but it seems like they've only ramped it up because they want to put this fear, into the public. President Trump has done exactly what he said he was going to do. He was going to clean this. Number one, he secured the border, but he said he was going to stop crime in American cities, and he's done that. He's stopped crime in D.C. He's put agents and officers, whole of government approach in different cities, and there's more to come. But what we're not doing is going after law-abiding citizens. We're going after criminals. We're going after illegal aliens that are rapists, murderers, gang members, cartel members. We're getting them the hell out of this country because that's exactly what we should be doing to protect Americans. And they're opposed to it. Think about that. They are putting criminals. They are standing up for criminals. They are saying, don't come into our beaten cities and take care of us. We can take care of ourselves. But the record has proven the opposite. They haven't done anything. They're the ones that have normalized this culture, this crime culture, where kids can't even walk to the bus stop without being accosted, or seeing drug addicts and criminals walking the streets without fear. They've done that.
Yeah, something else too, and this relates back to the ICE, the shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas, where 2 migrants were killed, or one was killed and two were seriously injured, I believe. And it was this. The reporting was that when the shooter opened fire, and ICE agents realized that they were, under fire, they ran to protect those in their custody. And get them to safety along with themselves. It's like we saw for some time in the previous Trump administration. Tom Homan was really keyed on making sure people are understanding what Customs and Border Patrol is doing at the border. And there were incidents that he gave some profile to so that people can appreciate the real attitude of law enforcement. And it was Customs and Border Patrol agents saving people who, for example, were about to drown in the Rio Grande, children sometimes too, while trying to cross the border illegally. So it's not just who law enforcement is going after, it's how they're treating people that they're going after, or people who are committing an illegal act. They're still acting in furtherance of people's human dignity and trying to keep people themselves safe and other people safe too, and just enforce the law. That's the general reality. I'm sure there are instances where an officer maybe crossed the line, and if an officer crosses the line, like we say with domestic police, well then fine, there needs to be accountability in the law for that too. But in terms of the characterization of them as, just as doing things for the sport, our governor here in Illinois is saying that the cruelty and terrorizing people, that's the point. No, that's not the point.
No, not at all. And look, I've been doing this job 28 years. I can tell you story after story of where our agents have gone above and beyond to protect and or rescue the people that are in our custody or that we're trying to apprehend because they've gotten themselves jammed up. And whether it's getting people out of the water to save their life, performing life-saving techniques such as CPR, or treating wounds that they've sustained, our agents go above and beyond to take care of everybody in our custody and protect anybody, regardless of where they're from. And just like what happened in Dallas, where those ICE officers put themselves in harm's way by trying to get everybody else out. Unfortunately, 2 people lost their lives, but they did what they could to get everybody else out of there. We see it every day. Our agents and officers are out there protecting the country, but they're also saving lives, whether it's in the deserts of Arizona or Texas, wherever it may be. We answer that call. We go out there. We try to do everything we can to save lives. And the Democrats wouldn't know that because the people, the members of Congress that we've taken on the border to show them exactly what we do and what we're up against have all been Republicans, because they actually care about wanting to know what's going on the border. We've asked the Democrats to come out and see for themselves exactly what we're up against, and they refuse to come out. We could have shown them. Yeah,
I mean, thank you too for clarifying. Yeah, I it was a little hazy in my head, but that's right. I remember the second migrant who was shot by that shooter at the Dallas facility ultimately succumbed to his injury. So that was the 2 people who were murdered by that shooter at that facility, while ICE was trying to protect those in their custody, as we were both describing. So where does this go from here? Do you think over in the short term, over the next the next year leading into the 2026 midterm elections? I mean, from a law enforcement perspective, do you want this to be sort of the central issue that is on people's minds when they go to the ballot box and decide about the political leadership in their state and this country?
It has to be. It has to be known that safety and security is one of the biggest things that President Trump is trying to establish. He's trying to put Americans first, trying to make sure that the United States is a free country, that we're not overrun by criminals and gangs and cartel members. He's trying to stop the flow of drugs into this country that's killing thousands, even millions of Americans. We're doing everything we can. He's doing everything he can to protect Americans every day. And that has to be a central issue, because the Democrats want chaos. They want everybody beaten down. They want this to be normal. They want crime. They want murders. They want shootings every weekend to be normal. And we don't want that. President Trump doesn't want that. And we're trying to stop it from happening. And we have to use the military in some locations because of how crazy it has gotten. They've normalized Portland, Oregon, being under siege, and we're trying to stop that from happening. We're trying to stop that from normalizing it anywhere else in this country.
Just on resources, so much of that conversation has sort of dissipated. But in your estimation, somebody who's been at this for almost 3 decades, so does Border Patrol, does ICE have the resources it needs, or maybe a more global question? the entire system of enforcement and adjudication, is that properly resourced? Or do you see any stopgaps that elected officials should be addressing? We've heard for a long time the need for more immigration judges to expedite the turnaround time and the adjudication of these asylum claims and so forth. Anything that comes to mind that you want sort of people to be thinking about and peppering their elected officials with?
Sure. We don't. We don't have enough agents. We don't have enough ICE officers. We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough space. But that's exactly why President Trump pushed the importance of passing the big, beautiful bill, because that gives us the funding to get exactly what we need. We're going to right-size the Border Patrol. We're going to right-size ICE. We're going to get more space than we've ever had before to put these people take these people in custody and keep them there so they're not allowed to be released, which is what the Biden administration did, catch and release. They apprehended and released everybody that they could to the tune of millions. The big, beautiful bill allows us to stop that from happening. It gives us the resources, and we're going to do everything that we can to fulfill Trump's promise of making this country secure.
Do you have an expectation of like how quickly those resources come online and are translated into the staffing and the space that you need?
Sure, I can speak for the Border Patrol specifically. We're going to start 2 academy classes a week, whereas in the past we haven't had anywhere near that amount of the amount of classes going in. We've had more. We've had record applications. We've had more people wanting to apply for the Border Patrol under President Trump's leadership because he's allowing us to do the job that we signed up to do. So we don't have a shortage of applicants. It's very difficult to get into the Border Patrol, so we need as many applicants as we can get. But we are now able to see the fruits of that one big beautiful bill, because we're going to put so many people through the academy, graduate them, and we're going to bring on board those 3,000 agents that the big beautiful bill is giving us.
Interesting. It's interesting. Military recruitment is up. They're exceeding their goals, what you just described in terms of Border Patrol. And then in big cities run by the Karen Basses and the Brandon Johnsons of the world, they're having a very difficult time getting police officers to staff their police departments. Gee, isn't that interesting? When you support law enforcement, you encourage others to go into law enforcement. And when you don't, you affect the exact opposite consequence.
And that's what they want. It's their way of defunding the police. If they can beat them down, if they can destroy the morale, if they can make it difficult for them to want to do the job, then that's another way that they're defunding the police, because through attrition, they lose the amount of manpower that they actually need to secure those cities.
Paul Perez is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Paul, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And Paul Perez joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
You know when that big online store has special days with ridiculously low prices?
Yeah?
Why doesn't Hasselus Mattress do that?
We do.
You do? When?
Every day.
Okay, good one. But really, when are the big discounts?
Like I said, every day. You know